So this is Jess from Her Mood Mentor, and today I am meeting with one of my one-to-one clients and PMDD rehab students, Heather. Hello, Heather.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm so excited to chat with you and to bring your story to the community because it's such an inspiring one. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me and for all your help over the past couple of months. Really been awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat about it here in retrospect. But let's zoom back to the beginning and let's explore what was PMDD like for you? What symptoms were you experiencing? How long were they going on? Tell us a little bit about your journey from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've experienced PMDD probably for about 15, 20 years in terms of like really feeling the symptoms, which is a really long time. And a lot of times before my period, like 2 weeks before, I would have a lot of irritability, anger, like a lot of crying spells, just feeling like super emotional and overwhelmed. Just like thinking about it gives me it makes me emotional, but um I would have that. I would often have like super heavy periods and like a lot of bloating, just like cramps, pretty much like physical and mental symptoms. It seemed like if I wasn't like experiencing one super severely, I was experiencing another. And like it just felt like kind of anytime my period was coming on, it was like this whole thing that was really hard to go through. And I didn't exactly know how to help myself. Um, and so, yeah, it's been a while now that I've been experiencing
Yeah, I
PMD.
have down since your first period. So yeah, we're talking like going into the second decade of you experiencing these symptoms. And I have down from our original notes that those symptoms were lasting about 10 days each month, each cycle.
Yeah.
Does that feel?
I mean, recently before I started working with you, I think it was about 10-ish days where sometimes it was like starting up where I was experiencing some more symptoms and then they'd go down a little bit, or, just like they can fluctuate. But there were times when I was younger where it was probably like 2 weeks before
Yeah.
my period where I was like really experiencing a pretty big chunk of like, yeah, just like emotional and physical symptoms. So yeah, but kind of recently before I started working with you, it was about 10 or so days, really.
Yeah. So we're talking like a third to a half of each cycle each month. Your life is consumed with psychological and or physical symptoms. What impact did that have on your life over the years? Can you paint a little bit of a picture of how these symptoms played out in your day-to-day life?
Yeah. I think it felt like sometimes just like very defeating because it was this cycle where it was like you were feeling really bad and then, oh, your period comes and like you kind of forget about it for a while. And then it comes again, And so it was like this cyclical thing where it feels like you're trying to kind of like be yourself or like know what step forward you want to take, but then it kind of like pulls you back again because you're feeling like kind of, yeah, just like overwhelmed by these symptoms. So a lot of times it just felt like you wanted to more isolate or like not be as close to friends, family, like not have that interaction because you were feeling so down that I think a lot of times I like wanted to isolate and things like that.
Yeah, so really impacting your relationships by pulling you away from them. Were
Mhm.
there any other impacts that you saw in kind of your quality of life because of the symptoms?
Yeah, I think, I mean, like a lot of times in terms of physical symptoms, like I didn't want to get out of bed some days. If I was having cramps or just feeling like really low, it was kind of like I couldn't even go through my normal day to day, you know, activities. But then, like, again, like if you're wanting to go to school or you're going to a job or both, like I remember at that time, that was really hard to like go through my even normal day because it was just a lot. Hmm.
It really does seep into every corner of your life as the symptoms present, and then a lot of times they just get worse and worse and worse until we address them in the way that they're calling out to be addressed, needing to be addressed. So in this 15 plus year time period with the symptoms, what did you try to navigate them during that period?
Hmm. Sometimes I feel like I always feel better with exercise, but I think my like medicine was to be like, I need to exercise all the time and go running every day, like do those type of things, which I think sometimes exacerbated my symptoms. Like I was almost like when I was like feeling good enough to do those things, then I was like going full force in them. Like I need to, like just like maybe doing too much instead of resting. So I feel like kind of like exercise, that type of thing. But then, I mean, a lot of times I was trying to eat healthier, but like I wasn't probably getting enough protein. Um, I was, I don't know, kind of just like hoping and wishing and like finding these things on the internet or like, a supplement or that type of thing. But I think I wasn't thinking about it like in a super holistic way where I need to kind of be thinking about all these lifestyle changes and, um, yeah, like also caring for myself rather than like feeling like I'm fighting against something that is my PMDD symptoms that like that also was a block for me. Like I think feeling like I was against it rather than like feeling like how am I supporting myself? I think that was a big shift for me in this program, and that was like something before that I was always trying something but it never felt like it was like clicking in the right way, or I would maybe feel better a few cycles or something and then it would like go away, like another bad cycle would come.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, there's a big paradigm shift that happened for you and happens for so many clients because the foundation of the program is shifting our perspective of the PMDD experience. We feel like we're being attacked. We feel like we're a victim to our own body because we lack the understanding. We haven't received the education around female physiology and just human physiology in general, and the fact that symptoms are actually information, not punishment, not an attack. And when we start to listen to those symptoms and we start to figure out how to interpret them and understand what they're trying to say, then we can take more targeted action to reduce the symptoms. But when we're running from it rather than facing it head on and saying, what are you trying to tell me? We're just never quite able to get there. And so there's a lot of shifts that happen to get you there, but that was something that we got to see with you, where no longer did it feel like you were a victim of your own body any longer.
which is a huge thing, and I think like just having more patience for yourself and also self-compassion has been something I've learned with you a lot. And it seems like so simple, but it like also makes such a huge difference, I think. Like even just that layer and then like doing these small practices every day, like give you so much more joy and just like appreciation for yourself than uh like I think you sometimes like more than you think you can have when you're like experiencing these symptoms really
Yeah.
extremely
Yeah.
and like feeling like there's no way out, you know.
Yeah. Can I read a couple of the quotes? I know we're like interjecting with them here, but they tie
Yeah.
into what we're saying. Okay. So, one of the quotes that I have from our fifth session, you said, I have a lot more joy and compassion in my days.
Mhm.
You said, I don't feel like I hate everyone or everything, which we know is such a common feeling with PMDD.
Mm.
You said, I feel more consistently the same person.
Mm.
You said, I didn't expect such a mental shift to be a part of this.
Yeah. And I really think that that was like something that I was expecting to be like, oh, I'm going to take these supplements and like, or change these food habits and then like I'll feel better. But I really think that like, although I was focusing on nutrition, the like kind of self-care and like self-compassion part was even more like life-changing for me and like really stuck out in terms of feeling like I can like implement these habits and things that like bring me more joy all the time rather than like feeling like I need to like do them for a while and then totally drop off the planet and then feel horrible again. And then, like
Mhm.
those self-care habits are gonna like be more consistent in terms of now on. So
Yeah, you found a way to make it work for you. And we really discovered through the process, what some of your triggers are and what some of your anchors are, what you need to adhere to keep the symptoms managed and reduced. And that gave you so much confidence. It gave you such a feeling of empowerment. And through this process, naturally, when people show up and do the work and trust the process, that self-compassion can come in as kind of a natural byproduct because for the first time, a lot of us are hearing our bodies and listening to our bodies. And so, what made you decide to take this approach?
Mhm. I think like when I contacted you and when I was like, this is the approach I want to take, it was like I was feeling very low, to be honest. And I was feeling like I kind of wanted like an external guide or mentor to help me along the way because I was feeling like overwhelmed with like things online that you see and information you can, just like there's so much information out there that these days that it can be kind of overwhelming. And it's nice to have kind of like someone who's going to help you guide and making decisions and also like taking little steps. And obviously like all those things I was doing in the program, but it does, it changes the experience when you can like sit down one-on-one with someone and talk about what you're experiencing and also yeah like make a plan for yourself, which I feel like was super impactful. And honestly like in the 3 to 4 months we were like working together, there were a lot greater shifts in my mood and physical symptoms than in like probably 15 years of trying random things and feeling like hopeless and like wondering what worked and what didn't work and you know just kind of like weighing all these things but not knowing what to do next.
Yeah.
So I was really looking for kind of like guidance and an action-based plan, but with some external person to help me kind of on the path. So
The accountability and the camaraderie in talking about PMDD without having to explain it, without having to feel shame or guilt as you're navigating this healing process is so important and so rare because there are very few practitioners helping the PMDD community
yeah.
who have experienced PMDD. So tell us a little bit about more specifically what changed along the way. What did you start to notice with your symptoms? Obviously, the self-compassion played a big role. What outcomes did you walk away with this with?
um yeah, I think like little by little as we were working together, it was like, oh, I would implement a little shift in my day and I would be like, wow, I feel like energized and I don't feel like I have to like go to sleep at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, like working or um feeling like because I was eating kind of like more to help myself, I wasn't feeling as bloated as well. So that those were like symptoms where I was feeling like less groggy, more energy, less bloated or just kind of like weighed down in terms of like feeling like I don't know, I was just feeling lighter in general in a lot of ways. I think like physically and mentally. That process was good for myself. Um, I'm trying to think what.
So
um,
some of the symptoms we were talking about that were really impacting you when we started were depression, mood swings, irritability,
mhm.
and how that was impacting your partner relationship. You talked about the fatigue and bloating already. So, or did you notice any changes through the process with the depression, mood swings, or irritability?
I definitely did also, I think with like having more energy, I felt like I was also more stable during the day. where it was like I wasn't having like such high and low influxes of, like mood swings. And so then that was helping obviously with my irritability and anger, or like I was able to recognize it more and then like use different ways to help me kind of like self-regulate, or I haven't eaten, so I need to eat something, like I had more ways to regulate and like kind of understand when I was feeling worse or when I like needed more self-care. And so, um, yeah, so those obviously went down as well. And I think as like earning more self-compassion, that also allowed me to communicate better with my partner,
Mhm.
um, and like advocate more for what I needed and like understanding for myself like what I needed more in that moment of feeling not great. Like that also helped me communicate to my partner like this is what's going on and this is how I need to help myself, or I need to remove myself, or just
Mhm.
like putting more limits and boundaries, but in a way that was healthy and effective, I think was like another big change. So
Yeah, so much of this, right? We come into it and we're like, what's the solution? That's the question I get asked the most. What's the solution? Which is so funny when you get into this work because you realize like that is just not even in the ballpark of what we're doing here. We're taking a completely different approach than to answer what is the solution. But we do ask, why is this happening? We bring a lot of curiosity. We do a lot of data collection around our symptom patterns and symptom presentation. We run functional labs, right? We're looking at root causes and we're building out personalized protocols for you. And because of the way that it's structured, you're able to start to understand why are some of these symptoms happening, and then through the self-awareness and understanding of why some of the symptoms are happening, you then open the doors to countless things that are the what is the solution. You're talking about setting boundaries, you're talking about self-care, you're talking about nutrition, you're talking about movement. Like all of these things are just scratching the surface of the what is the solution part of it. But the most, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like the most, one of the most empowering parts of your story that I saw as this played out was you having the autonomy to understand yourself, to know yourself deeper, and then be able to advocate for that version of you. That was such a liberation for you. You like blossomed into this new version of yourself through that process. And it didn't come from what's the solution? It came from why is this happening? Which led to who am I in a way.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think like once you start making little changes in one area, then like that provides you with positive energy to kind of like keep it exponentially growing.
Mhm.
And so that's really cool because it's like this experience has like made me think about my art and my childhood and like other parts of me that want to grow as well. And so that's like a really amazing impact that it's had on my life in terms of like a more holistic view, like beyond my PMDD symptoms or like how I approach those, like just in general, exploring who I am and exploring like how I can serve myself. So yeah, that's been really cool.
It is
Hmm.
such a bigger deal. And I try to warn clients. I vet clients pretty strictly coming into the program because there are a lot of us, we all want to feel better. But this program cuts quite a bit deeper, and not everyone is ready for it. And you definitely got to see and experience the depth. You went there with me. You followed me down into the depths, and it's just amazing what we come out of that with. It really, in a lot of ways, is a rebirth where you are not only learning to reduce and manage the symptoms, but you're changing your relationship with a condition that has plagued you for almost 2 decades.
Hmm.
And that's hard when we say that. That's hard to understand. What does that mean? Changing your relationship with PMDD? That's kind of vague. Well, it's vague because it looks different for every person. Um, can you speak to that any, though?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think like it's it's been a really awesome and also interesting process because I feel like um you don't really know what's going to happen or like you don't know what to expect. So in the beginning I was honestly like sort of scared and like scared to even talk to someone about PMDD because I feel like in most instances in the past it's been like, oh, well, here's your symptoms, like this is what you're experiencing, take birth control or take this medication. But it's like it's an easy like band-aid to put on, you know. But when like your approach is like, we're going to be working together and you're making your own plan and like you're taking action, it feels scary. But it also feels amazing in terms of like seeing how much you can change in so little time. And it's like making me emotional. Sorry. Um, but it's just like a really amazing process to go through. And it's also weird to think like, wow, I've been experiencing these symptoms for like 20 years because it's wild that you can really kind of like put yourself to work and support yourself and then you can see like pretty drastic change quickly. Um, so yeah, I think it's been like a really amazing process and it feels weird sometimes. It's like not, you know, it's not maybe the approach for everyone, but I really think that like someone who's wanting to understand themselves more, support themselves, and yeah, find like sustainable ways to navigate their PMDD symptoms. I think it's like a really great approach to follow. And sorry, I feel like in every session, you know, it's an emotional topic and it brings out a lot of things, but it's also really liberating to be like working with someone um, and yeah, exploring the symptoms rather than feeling like you're fighting against them, really. Mhm.
It's a very different way of being. And now that you're on kind of, it's a lifelong journey. There's no cure for PMDD, but you are kind of on the other side of it from where you were. You do have a new relationship with it. You have learned how to reduce and manage symptoms. What are you noticing now in your day-to-day life? What has changed now that you're not spending 10 plus days in survival mode?
Mhm. I think it just like feels like it expands a lot of life for you because you're not like focusing so many days on just like PMDD symptoms. So then it's like, okay, now I have time to think about like, you know, I'm in a designer, for example. So it's like, what kind of business do I want to make sometime? Or like updating my portfolio or like these projects that I've like put off and put off and put off because dealing with PMDD and just feeling like I don't have the energy or I don't have like the bandwidth to do them. Like that type of thing opens up, you know, and you also have uh just better communication, I think, in terms of like within my partnership with friends. I feel like I have more energy to do social event things. Like before, I might have been like the majority of my cycle, even like feeling like just overwhelmed by social actions and that type of thing. But now it feels like I have more space just for life, you know, to do things that I like to do.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of like dream beyond my PMDD, you know, and like my life that I have now,
Mm.
which is great. But then it's like, okay, I have time and like space to think about other things.
Mm. Yeah,
Hmm.
you start to ask, okay, if this is possible, if I can reduce and manage these symptoms that have been plaguing me for so long and holding me back from so much, and now they're not, that's kind of scary in a way too. It's like, whoa, what can I not do? Like, where am I going next? It unlocks a deeper layer of healing, and now you're kind of working through that piece, which there's always more.
Hmm.
We reduce and manage the
Yeah, it's like
symptoms.
life, sort of.
Yeah, yeah, it's life. The reducing and managing the symptoms rarely is the hard part. There are some
Mm.
complex cases, but generally we can get if you show up and do the work and we have the information to guide you in a personalized protocol, we can generally reduce the symptoms pretty easily and help you manage the symptoms pretty easily, but it's what starts to come out after that of okay, now what? Now I'm facing a life with a lot of questions where before there was only suffering. That's a whole new way of being, and that can be uncomfortable and exciting to adjust to. But it's like you can't realize how sick you were until you feel better, and there's some grief that can come with the process. Um, what would you tell yourself, or what would you tell someone who is 5 months, 6 months, 2 years back to where you were before, feeling hopeless, feeling like, these symptoms are consuming my life. There's no way, nowhere out, no way out. How would you speak to that person, or what would you want to say to that person or that version of yourself?
Mhm. Um, I think I would say like acknowledge that it's really hard because I feel like I never heard that. Like you just don't have like you can't relate maybe to everyone in terms of their experience. And so if you don't have someone to talk to, for example, like you, then like maybe it feels like your symptoms like aren't valid or you're not actually feeling them or you are, but you're crazy. Like just it can be a lot. And so like it's okay to feel bad and like it's okay to not be okay at times, but also that it's really important to be patient with yourself, to love yourself, to remember that it can get better. It's just like it is going to take time and it like will take action. Um and yeah, but I mean like it all starts with you and it all starts with like the little steps that you can take because you're the person who's going to be like the person who can stand up for you the most and knows who you are and knows what you need. And so, yeah, it's really just a process, but it can get a lot better.
Mm. That's
Hmm.
such a good message, acknowledging how hard it is. It's so hard. And also, at some point, drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm the only one that can help myself, because we feel so victimized. We feel like we're drowning. And then it's like, oh, I have to do one more thing. Now I have to help myself. Are you kidding me? How am I
Yeah.
going to do that? But you're right. At the end of the day, you are the only one that cares about you as much as you do. Your mother is going to fall in that category too, right?
Mom too.
Other people really love and care about you too, Heather, but they don't have the agency to advocate for you, to make the decisions in the day, to be connected in your body and get feedback from your body. It's really only you. So we do need support, 100%. We desperately do need support. But there's an empowerment, at least there was for me, and it sounds like there was for you, in taking the reins
Hmm.
and taking it on for yourself. Because again, now you're at a place where you're like, if I can do this for myself, what else can I do?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think like throughout the whole process, it for at first felt scary, but then like little by little, it felt like even more amazing and just like um really impactful and powerful that it was like sure you were guiding me in certain ways or we were having like collaborating on things but at the same time like I was literally doing all the things that were helping me feel better which was amazing to feel because it was like wow I've been trying things for so long and sometimes it wasn't working so um just like with a plan and like consistency and patience I think like you can see change and you can feel better.
Mm.
Hmm.
Before we wrap up, I want to share with you something a client said the other day, and it parrots what I often say. And I'm curious now that you're on this side of it, what you think about these statements. So I often say, now looking back, which I recognize people watching this who are suffering very badly will find this offensive because it is offensive to say when you're suffering very badly. But when you go through these perspective shifts and you go through the process and it changes you, you shockingly can say something like this. And it is, I believe that PMDD was an initiation into the person that I was meant to become for
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
A client last week said she feels like, and she said the same, she gave me the same similar disclaimer, like, I can't believe I'm saying this. She said, I feel like PMDD is my protector.
Mm. That's powerful. That's
Yeah.
a strong statement, but I see where they're coming from. Uh,
Right?
because I think like PMDD does make you face yourself. It does make you like set boundaries. It does make you care about yourself. Like all these things that we should be doing for ourselves anyways, probably. But a lot of people, I think, don't have the systems or the knowledge or the understanding to maybe like implement all of the like intricacies that PMDD symptoms maybe make you implement into your life, like really caring about yourself,
Mhm.
um, and listening to yourself too, like not just like thoughts, but also your body and um, yeah, I mean it's telling us things all the time.
Yeah.
So, but it is sometimes it does feel hard to like acknowledge, those quotes as well.
Yeah.
Uh, but I really think, like, I think even in one of our last sessions, I said something very similar where it was like, all these time, like it was, these symptoms are not beneficial to me, but I mean, they are like they're communicating with me.
Mm.
Um, and I'm the one who can listen as well.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there can be a silver lining when you come
Mhm.
out of it. You can kind of shift your perspective on the experience. That doesn't mean it didn't traumatize you and it wasn't all of the awful things that it was. But when you move through this, it is possible to see it in a different light with more compassion, to see it as something that was trying, your body trying to tell you something that you just didn't quite know how to interpret.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like at first it can feel intimidating because it's like all these symptoms, but once you are on the other side, I think, or like on the other side of something, I think you can read yourself more and your symptoms more because it's like it's never going to go away completely, probably, like we're also managing some symptoms, but at the same time, like you have a total different perspective and you like know how to read yourself and check, okay, what am I feeling? And, like you have more information to then respond rather than feeling like you're kind of like grasping for all of these answers. And so I think that's like another shift where it's like, sure, like, is it all amazing? No, but it is giving us a lot of knowledge and it's giving us a lot of information that like can make us live amazing lives. Like
Mhm.
we have more power and feel more empowered to live the lives we want to live.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
more tools, we have more understanding
Hmm.
for sure. Well, thank you, Heather, for sharing your story. It's so inspiring, and it's been so inspiring to watch you transform throughout this process, to see you repeatedly show up for yourself, to see you learn how to reduce and manage symptoms, and to see you build more compassion into your life, and to see what that has brought about for you has been such a joy. And I'm so grateful that I got to be part of it.
Thank you so much. I'm also really grateful that I found you and also that we had the opportunity to work together because it's really been an amazing experience and has changed a lot of parts of my life, really. So thank you very much.
Yay.